I'm going to follow up on a story I talked about not that long ago. It's only been like a month or something, but there is a big update here. So I did want to bring it up. This involves an Oregon lawmaker named Werner Reschke. Uh, and he's a state representative in Oregon. And a couple months ago, he said atheists and Muslims shouldn't be allowed to hold public office, that you wouldn't want to see atheists or Muslims in public office. Um, and something happened this week where they investigated his comments and they had the option of punishing him for saying these horrible things that atheists and Muslims shouldn't be in public office. And they decided not to do it. And I'll get to that in a second, but I want to remind you of what this guy did. He made these comments in February, and it was during an interview with Jason Rapert, who is the Christian nationalist, former Arkansas legislator, who now runs a group called the National Association of Christian Lawmakers. And this Reschke guy serves as the Oregon chair for that organization. And basically, Rapert asked him a softball question about why Christians needed to get involved in government. And instead of just saying something boilerplate like, well, we have a spiritual duty to shape society or some crap like that, he argued that non-Christians were unfit for office. And let me play you that clip so you can remember what he said.
Tell people about why you think it's important that Christians should be involved in government and voting and be a part of the authority in our country. What drew you as a Christian to do it, and what would you tell those people that are listening today?
You know, you just go back through history and you look at men and the struggles that they faced and the faith that they had. And those are the type of people that you want in government making tough decisions during tough times. You don't want a materialist. You don't want an atheist. You don't want a Muslim. You want somebody who understands what truth is and understands the nature of man, the nature of government, and the nature of God.
Yeah.
If you don't understand those things, you're going to get things wrong. And in Oregon, that's a classic example. We have a lot of people who are godless, unfortunately, leading the way, and it's the blind leading the blind.
Yeah.
So who should make tough decisions? You don't want an atheist. You don't want a Muslim. You basically need a Christian. He wasn't subtle about that. He doesn't think atheists or Muslims should be able to hold public office. Us, because we have no religion, and Muslims, because apparently they have the wrong religion. And he felt so comfortable saying that too, out loud, to someone like Rapert, probably thinking only Christians are watching us anyway. Now, obviously, the founders of the country felt otherwise, which is why the Constitution explicitly says you can't have a religious test for public office. But even if you make the argument that Reschke wasn't banning anyone from running for office, but rather just saying he didn't think non-Christians have the right sensibility for the job, it is still a disturbing thing to hear from a sitting politician. And again, I know we just played this game, but if a Muslim said that about a Christian, or an atheist politician said that about a Christian, that they shouldn't be in government because, they're too gullible, there would be an outcry in the media. There would be an outcry on conservative media. So at the time when he said this, the Freedom from Religion Foundation's political arm, the FFRF Action Fund, they sent a letter to him basically politely calling him out on this stuff. And this is what they said: as a state representative, your duty is to support the state and federal constitutions and to protect the rights of conscience of your constituents, not to promote your personal religious views, much less to Christian theocracy. Your oath of office has charged you with great responsibility over citizens, including those citizens who may not or do not share your personal religious viewpoints. You have shown that you are unfit for this responsibility. You should either apologize to all non-Christian and non-religious citizens of your district, or you should resign. Well played, fair points. So that's what they said at the time. They also pointed out, by the way, that some of the founders, the former presidents that he mentioned in that interview, Washington, Madison, Lincoln, they didn't share his faith, or at least the practice of it, which is a point you would think he would know. And it didn't take long before this guy started to backtrack. When Oregon Public Broadcasting did an article about this back at the time. Look at this. Reschke told OPB in an email his comments have been grossly taken out of context. I just showed you the context. They were not taken out of context. When asked for more specifics about what he meant to say, if not that Muslims and other non-Christians are unfit to lead, he did not respond. And then this is what one of his colleagues said. I don't know how to pronounce this, but Case Jama, a Portland Democrat, state senator. I am disheartened to see one of my legislative colleagues express views contrary to American values, the Constitution, and our collective aspiration of building a more perfect union. Our ability to live and work with our fellow Oregonians who speak different languages, pray or vote different ways, celebrate different cultures is our strength. Which, by the way, that's how you talk as a politician. And how did Reschke respond to that? And this person went on, like so many, I came to this country for all these reasons. Yeah. Okay, what did he say? I believe Senator Jama is qualified to be a senator, as well as any other currently serving legislator duly elected by the people. Like, my God, this guy backtracks so fast. Okay, but then explain yourself, right? Why is your colleague here, who is not Christian, why is that one qualified to serve, but you said they're not qualified to serve? Which is it? Were you lying then or are you lying now? You know what I mean? That's what was frustrating about this. Like, if you want to make an outlandishly stupid statement, at least have the courage to stand by your bigotry. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. You don't need, I feel like I made a video about this back in February. You can watch that if you want. But he didn't learn anything from this. And this is the update I wanted to talk about. I don't think he's learned anything in the past several months because there is a House committee that was tasked. The Oregon House Committee on Conduct said they were at least going to investigate this matter. I would hope, hey, if you're a committee on conduct, maybe make an example of this guy. Make it clear to the elected officials in Oregon that you're not going to stand for this, that it's not going to be okay. You are going to publicly shame them for this. So that committee met this past Monday to discuss their findings. And basically the question at hand is, did Reschke violate one of their legislative rules concerning harassment in the workplace? Was he creating a hostile work environment? And I watched this hour-long discussion on like 2x speed. But basically, there are 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans on this committee. And their discussion was that there was no proof that he has treated anyone differently, regardless of his beliefs. So even if he's anti-Muslim and anti-atheist, he doesn't treat the Muslims or atheists in the legislature any badly. And that's why 3 of those 4 committee members, including 1 Democrat, said, we can just throw this away. There's nothing to pursue. There was no violation of a legislative rule. And that is just infuriating to hear about. This is what one person said who investigated the matter. This is what they discussed, according to Oregon Capitol Chronicle. Here's the investigator. Most of the people that I interviewed were at least initially offended by the comments that were made by Representative Reschke. Some had one-on-one conversations with him and were satisfied with his explanation, but there were only 2 people who indicated that the comments had an impact on their work at the Capitol. One person, who is Buddhist, said she absolutely sees an effect from his words. Representative Reschke's comment was offensive, and it will impact my working environment, and it will affect my interactions with him. Okay, so it sounds like you should punish this dude. And this is, who is this guy? Dan Knopf or something? He is one of the Democrat who was on this committee. I think he has been reflective and appreciative of the impact those words have had and the work that he has to do to continue to restore trust. There's lessons for all of us to learn in this. To me, what this reinforces is that we can be guided by our faith. We can be guided by our beliefs, but we can also be respectful of the faith and beliefs of others and how they guide them in our government. Oh, okay, I'm not reading the rest of that. That is Susan Collins level dumb. I think this guy understands what he did wrong. No, he doesn't. He's still a bigot. What are you doing? He hasn't learned anything. Reschke didn't show up for any interviews with the people who are investigating this matter. He didn't sit down with the committee. He hasn't apologized. He literally made one of his colleagues feel like crap and who doesn't want to work with him anymore. Like, why would anyone be insane enough to think, well, he learned his lesson? No, he didn't. He's still a bigot. Just because his comments were not directed at anyone in particular, and just because he made them before the legislative session began, which they seem to think was a big deal, it doesn't make them any less damning. And I think another part that's annoying to me about this is that none of this got a lot of media coverage, which suggests that if a Christian lawmaker slanders atheists and Muslims, that's just a normal part of our political discourse. And as we have seen over and over again today, if a Muslim or atheist said this about Christians, it would definitely not go unnoticed. And again, the hypocrisy of what he said is obvious. It's not that atheists deserve to be in government and that devout Christians cannot be, but it's that the argument suggesting atheists cannot hold office because they reject a higher power implies that religious believers are inherently responsible and obedient. And that's what Reschke was saying in that interview. But if we've learned anything from the past several years, it's that the politicians who wear their Christian faith on their sleeve are also often the most immoral, law-hating people in the country. They love making public proclamations about their faith, then turning around and defending corruption and cruelty at every turn. Just look at what happened to Trump over the past couple of weeks and how Christian nationalists defended it to see an example of that. Like, in a more just world, what Reschke said, those words would hover over his head for the rest of his political life. Instead, now, because this House committee is like, let's just erase this and pretend it never happened, they'll probably just be forgotten. And next time we see Reschke, it's when he's running for higher office somewhere because no one had the decency to punish him over this. For what it's worth, neither Reschke nor Jason Rapert have said anything about this situation, which is odd because these are two guys who absolutely say whatever they want all the time. But I think even they're like, oh, we got everything we wanted. They're just forgetting this happened. Good. Let's not talk about it and call attention to it, and maybe no one will notice. I'll take questions. He was totally going to say we don't want a Jew, but then stopped himself just in time. You know, he was thinking it. I mean, he said non-Christians, basically, so you know where he was going with it. Oh, thank you for that donation. Hello from hell, or Arizona, which is hot as hell. That is true. I spent a part of last summer in Phoenix, and it was over 100 degrees every day, and it was horrible. I am not going back this summer, but I hope you stay safe. I know the weather there is crazy. Oh, thank you for that donation. I love what you do. Keep bringing us great content. I will do my best. Thank you for watching. As a former Oregonian, thank you for properly pronouncing Oregon. I'd like to see how you get along. Oh, God. Willamette? Is it Willamette? I hope. Sorry. Maybe. You can let me know if I'm right. I have no idea.